Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books.
Well, good morning or afternoon, whenever it is that you guys are joining us for PBJamz. We are very glad that you are here, and we have a triple treat today. We have Delia Ruiz, who is here to talk about her board book series, and it's a bilingual series, and it's all about Hispanic dances. And so we have the cumbia, the merengue, and the salsa. But she's going to talk with us about these three books, what they have in common, how they're different, her path to publication, and some other fun things. And she's also offering a critique as the giveaway for this session. So stay tuned and keep listening, and we'll tell you more about that at the end and also in the write up down below. So welcome, Delia. Glad you are here with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you today.
Yeah, such cute books. So we have these are from Soaring Kite Books, and we have 123 Cumbia, 123 Merengue, and 123 Salsa. So before we dig into the other questions, just kind of give us a general overview of what these board books are and how they're alike and how they're different.
Yeah, of course. So they're all three board books and of course all on dance. And each book focuses on like a different lesson. So the 123 salsa one is really focused on number counting. So every single number represents something within salsa dancing, like a pair of shoes or the number of people making a turn. And with the other one, cumbia, for example, we have it focused on manners. And so that one touches a little bit on consent, especially with dancing and asking permission, saying yes, please and thank you. And then the merengue one is more focused on the instruments and sounds in the merengue music. And so kids will often see the pictures and then they'll be able to associate the sound with the instrument in the merengue.
I love it. I love that you were able to just lots of layers. I mean, we have the bilingual layer, obviously, the dance layer, which is the kind of running thread that connects them all. But then you were able to pull in those other lessons as well, with the manners and the music and the instruments, the guiro and all those pieces, and then the counting. So really a nice comprehensive series. And is this the end of the series? Is it done, or do you have others coming?
For now, it's just those three books in a
Okay.
series. And it's funny you asked that because it wasn't intended to be a series. It was just going to be a standalone salsa manuscript.
Oh,
And it got
really?
turned into, two additional titles. But for now, it is just focused on those three. But you never know. I never know when all of a sudden I might hear, let's add another genre in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, it is just focused on those three dances.
Got you. And so did the publisher, so you submitted or your agent submitted the salsa when you said was the original? Is that right?
Yeah, so it was an open submission call before I had an agent, and
Okay.
so I had just submitted. It was meant to be a picture book idea on salsa. So of course it was a little bit more wordy. It actually had more of a storyline to it.
Right.
And when I sent it over, I got the suggestion, what do you think about a series? And I had to just think of how could I pitch this? And so I had to think of two different ways to pitch it as a potential series. And they
Yeah.
went with a route of using dance to teach a concept. So numbers and manners and instruments. So yeah, it started off more as a standalone and it's now a series. So you never know how these ideas actually turn to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome though. That's fabulous. But you have other picture books too. I think you're going to join me later to talk about one of them. So some of them do have some musical threads. So how many books do you have in publication right now or in the works?
Yeah, so there's four total right now, with the first one being published back in 2021. And then I'm currently, I know you're gonna probably ask me a little bit later on about what I'm working later on, and I'm currently working on three other projects. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm always busy and writing, and so I hope that there's always more books to come through the years.
Yes, absolutely. That's all of our hope. Like that's always what we're crossing our fingers for and saying our prayers for sure. So, talk to us a little bit about the inspiration for the salsa book originally. So, and then, I mean, we've already talked a little bit about how it morphed from just the salsa book to this board book series. But how did you think of the salsa book idea originally? Are you a dancer? Do you do salsa?
I do. So I am a dancer, but I actually started more formal classes actually in college. I've always loved dancing since I was little, but I was never put into an actual dance class. So once I actually got to college and we had courses on campus and then they moved to a ballroom, I started taking more of those classes. And that's where my love for salsa really just kind of took off. And so that's what kind of inspired the manuscript as well. It's like, how could I use a love for dance, but also as a having a teaching background, what standard could I apply to this as
Yeah.
well? And so that's where the inspiration for the salsa manuscript kind of took off there, mainly for the love for dance to begin with, and then incorporating some teaching to it. So how can kids and teachers use this in the classroom to teach something? And so number counting is where it started off. I think the picture book originally had uh, up to 20 maybe. And then when we simplified the board book, it was numbers 1 through 10.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love that. So, is salsa your favorite of the Latin dances?
Oh gosh, that's so hard because it's like you could put, if you had a DJ playing music right now, I would probably be dancing to all of them. So it's hard to pick a favorite because like I like just having a genre, and I'm sure everyone's like that. When the music is playing at a party or anything, you want to have a variety so you
That's
can
right.
get up and dance and pick a break because some of them are a little bit faster tempo than the others.
Right.
Uh, so I like them all. It's so hard to choose one.
Yeah, no problem. You don't have to. I was just curious. And so we've already talked a little bit about the journey to publication. So it was an open call and you didn't yet have an agent. So talk to us about where that happened in the process. Was it your, and I know sometimes like with publishing, the books that you write first are not published first, and even the ones that are bought first aren't published first. So give us a little glimpse of the timeline and how that worked with you.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I always love hearing people's path to
Yes.
publication because you're right, the journey is not always just a straight path. Sometimes it just takes so many turns, you never know. But mine actually started back in 2021. I actually started by self-publishing my first book, and
Okay.
that gave me a lot of insight as far as how to do a print run, how to do contracts, how to learn about page layouts, how to handle Illustrator communication. Like it was a lot going on. So it kind of gave me a really good sense of what happens behind the scenes and
Mhm.
how do I lay out the book and, conduct business basically on the side to get a book published. And so that did teach me a lot. And in that year when I published in 2021, that's when there was an open call for the salsa board books and everything that I published. There was an open call that summer, and at that time, I wasn't querying. I don't think I knew a lot about the query process just yet. I just knew, okay, it's going to take a while to get an agent, but here's an open submission call, unagented. And so I just kind of just took it. I was like, okay, why not? Let me go ahead and submit my
Yeah.
manuscript. And that's when I got a call back late that summer, letting me know that they were interested in it, but not as a standalone title. And so I had to pitch additional ideas to what is now the series. And that was in 2021. And so the following year in 2022 is when I actually started the query journey in the spring. I just took a lot of classes, workshops, lots of classes that highlight, lots of just anything that I came across, free and some paid.
Yeah.
I also attended some conferences from SCBWI. And so I really took 2022 as my year to like, I'm going to get very serious about this and learn everything that I can. And that's where I actually met my agent at a conference.
Oh,
Um, and I didn't pitch, I didn't submit to her or anything. I just like, we met, we had a little, I think it was a critique that I had paid for with her. And so I actually didn't pitch her until the following year, which was spring of 2023. And that's when we actually signed. So I'm actually about to celebrate about a year with her now. I can't believe it's been a year already. But yeah, the path to publication, I basically have books self-published, without an agent and now with an agent. So I've kind of dipped my toes into all the different little fields with that.
Yes, yes. Even though you're young in the profession, you've had a wide variety of experiences. I think that'll serve you very well. That's awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, it's definitely a learning experience along the way.
For sure. And I think, I've talked with so many people and I've been through it myself and I keep hearing, so many of the same steps that we went through, and I don't hear this from you, but so many people like queried early and then they're like, okay, they took a step back and they did exactly what you did and what I did and like taking like a year or so just to like learn the process and learn more about querying and more about like picture book formatting and all those yeah, the webinars, the freebies, and like yeah, all that sounds very very familiar to me. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
most of us have kind of been through that for sure. um
Yeah, and I did take I mean I did take breaks throughout. I think when I was querying it wasn't like constant sending queries. I would take month of breaks because I had to reevaluate some of the feedback, especially if it was along the same lines, and
yeah,
come back to it. And I did more of the batch method, like sending 5 queries at a time
yes. Hmm.
and just wait and then pitch a couple of months later on. But I would say I think note to self, if I were to redo this again, which I have a fabulous agent, I would always go with her. But if I were organizing the way I was querying back then, I would probably not like query, any like agents that I was hoping to work with right away. Cause I felt like
uh,
right away, sometimes we don't have things as organized, or we could probably learn a little bit more along the way and pitch them later, closer to
yeah.
the end. And so I think I feel like I missed a lot of opportunities there, but I am so happy with the end result. Like I really do have a fabulous agent now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think we all have those mistakes along the way. Like I said, for many of us, we query too early, and yeah, exactly what you're saying. That's a good tip. For those of you who are just kind of starting out your querying process, that might be a great tip that Delia is giving you to kind of just take a step back and choose those agents that you're not as excited about, and kind of get your feet wet with that process before you um, dig into those agents that you really just kind of have your heart set on for sure. Great tip. So we've talked a little bit about the musical connections with you and the text in terms of the dancing. So when we talk about the one that has all the musical instruments, the merengue, I think it is. So we talk about the guiro. And so do you have musical experience playing, or is your musical experience reserved for the dancing?
Oh, it's more on the dancing. I don't think I have that bone in me that could actually play the music. I've never actually attempted, but I did grow up in a family that my dad particularly always had a huge collection of music. So we were constantly listening to different genres of music at home. And then I also always, as a little kid, I always rode the bus up to high school. So my bus driver always played the oldie station. So I feel like I kind of experienced a wide genre of music since I was very little. So it's no surprise that most of my stories tend to have some movement, some music, some dance kind of incorporated throughout. But yeah, I would say most of the music inspiration comes for the love of the music itself, the love of dance.
Mhm.
But no, I don't play a musical instrument. I wish I did, but I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fine. Dancing is definitely a huge musical connection for anybody. But I think if you have the rhythm that you can dance, you for sure could play some musical, at least percussion. Like you could totally do percussion. Because it's
You might
all about the
inspire me to
rhythm.
do something like that.
There you go. Yeah, it is never too late. Listen, I'm still learning, still trying to learn some instruments later in life. I play trumpet, I mean, relatively, okay. I play trumpet okay. I've played for a long time. Piano, I'm terrible at, and I will probably never be good, but as I get closer to retirement, I may kind of dig into that a little bit more, but I have a ukulele that I'd like to learn to play, and I was
Those are
learning
cute.
guitar for a while. So, I mean, it's never too late. Yeah, I'm much older than you, and I'm still learning. So, you still got plenty of time,
I've got
lady.
time. I might come back and let you know which instrument I'm playing next time.
There you go. That sounds great. We'll be sure to come back to that and talk about it. So as you were writing these as board, so it started as a picture book and then you morphed them into board books. So what is the writing process? How is it different for those two things between board books and picture books? Like obviously word count's a big difference. Were there other differences in how you approached writing them as board books as opposed to picture books?
Yeah, so when I started the board book journey, I was often told how many spreads to expect. And so that kind of helped me lay out how I was going to do all the pages throughout.
Right.
So oftentimes when I start writing a manuscript, I do pagination and then I write out where my text is going to go under each page and the total number of spreads that are expected. And then for these board books, for example, there was no back matter, but actually board books now, some of them do have back matter. I know I recently got some board books for my baby, and they're by Brennan Winslow. And there's this fabulous back matter on the board books
Nice.
on endangered species of animals. And so the board books that I know that you're going to ask us later on, but the board books that I'm actually hoping to work on later on, they are expected to have back matter. And
Oh,
so
cool.
the editor already told me, like, save these pages for back matter spreads. So I know that picture books tend to have back matter, especially if they're on a concept or topic that we can expand on. But for writing these board books, I just kind of had to worry about how many spreads the publisher wanted. Um, the word count, like you mentioned, is significantly less than picture books, so definitely under 500 and closer to the 200 range. That's
Right.
about how much words were in these specific series. Um, let's see what other things I had to do. Um, I mean, overall, I enjoy writing both. I think the picture books and board books are both, ones that I enjoy writing. But I think just simplifying things was another area where I had to work a little bit more and just revising the vocabulary and making sure it was all for closer to the 0 to 3 age range for the board
Right.
books. Um, and then just cutting off extra fluff.
Yeah.
I know that in picture books we can have a little bit of a higher word count, but in board books, just making it a little bit more simple. Um, and if there was area to grow for vocabulary, making sure we had enough context, either through the words or through the pictures.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think the biggest thing I had to do was make sure that I could tell the story in a short amount of spreads because it was only about 8 or so spreads that I had to work with. So we had
Right.
to just jump into it and then summarize it. And then some of these the board book series are not so much storyline. A
Right.
lot of them just have an introduction to the numbers or the introduction more to the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that a little bit easier, but I know some other books that I'm working on, I really have to simplify the storyline in like 8 spreads and wrap it up.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. Did you do many of the contests like in the Kidlit world? Did you do like Spring Fling, Kidlit Spring Fling, or any of those 50 precious
I,
words?
I did not, but I see them on Twitter and I'm always
Yeah.
on like I always miss the deadlines or like I always like see them pass by or I know sometimes like I'm just so busy and doing XYZ and then like once I actually log in I'm like, oh, this is going on. So
Yeah.
I do have a lot of friends and critique partners that participate and so it's fun to kind of like see what's going on. But yeah, I know it's still going on now. I've seen a couple of contests on Twitter, so I need to just jump on it and try
I
some
was
of
just
those.
thinking about that with you talking about the board books and how, because like the 200 word count ish, like that's very common for the contest, like right around there, anywhere from 50 to 200 words. And with that short amount of spreads, like I think that's just a really good exercise. I know many of our
Right.
viewers do those contests, and I'm thinking how helpful that would probably be if in the future they are writing board books, that would be just a nice foundational piece to have, and that that would probably be something that they would kind of go back to and go, okay, I know I can do this because I did it for this and this and this. Because I think it would be very similar for like getting that storyline in that short amount of spreads and that short amount of words. So,
Yeah, that's such a great tip because you're right. Because if it's pretty close to that word count, you would just revise it, tweak it a little bit, and you're pretty much there
yeah,
on a
yeah.
board book. Yeah,
So
definitely.
to my viewers who have done a lot of those contests like that might be a good tip for some of those pieces that we've written for those contests. They might make perfect board books with just a little tweaking like Delia said. So that's excellent. Yeah, good deals. Um so yeah, talk to us about what's coming next for you. Any upcoming projects or books or maybe some upcoming events or things that you have that you'd like to let us know about.
Yeah, so this year I am actually working on three picture book projects that are unannounced. So I'm hoping that they'll be announced later on this year. And so I've kind of been on deadline for those three different projects. And so it's been a little hectic, but exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
And then we're actually going to be going on sub later this fall for another picture book project. So I'm always crossing my fingers when I'm on submission. I'm sure everyone is.
Yes.
And then we are working on some board books that are going to be that we're pitching at the moment, and they're STEAM focused. And so I'm just waiting to hear back if, we get the green light or not. So if not, we just go back to the drawing board. And
Yep.
so I'm just staying tuned on that project. So a couple of those things are still unannounced. And then just behind the scenes, besides picture books and board books, I'm revising my novel in verse that I've
Oh,
already written,
nice.
but I need to just go back and edit. And I feel like every time someone asks me about this project, I still say I'm still revising, but it's a long project and revisions take a while.
Yeah.
And especially having like a little one at home, I think sometimes it just takes me a good bit to finally come back to that project. Find picture books and board books a little bit easier than tackling that one all at once.
Yeah.
And so, no, we haven't pitched that one or gone on sub with that just yet. I'm still kind of revising on that. But I don't have upcoming events for this year. I'm actually in the middle of a move, hoping to go back to the East Coast from here in California. So I haven't planned out so many events here in California just yet, but I'm hoping to actually attend events. I know here in LA, we have a lot of um, the library has a lot of events here for authors. There's one coming up in September. I think ALA is in San Diego this year, so I'm
Oh,
crossing my
nice.
I get to go. So yeah, I think behind the scenes, I'm just trying to go more to author events and support the authors. But no, I don't have any current events this year, but I am keeping busy by just writing away,
And taking care of that new baby.
taking care of the baby too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Which is I mean, that's a lot. It sounds like you're being very productive with everything that you have going on. So that's fabulous. So make sure to the viewers, make sure that you support our authors in all the ways that we talk about fairly often on here. You, of course, can buy their books, and all that'll be linked up below. I will share with you Delia's website and her socials and where to buy the board books. These books would be, I mean, perfect for so many things. Perfect baby shower gifts, perfect for other moms with new babies at home, anybody up to, preschool age. These would be fabulous into the daycare and preschool setting for sure, and maybe even in some additional settings, but those are definite places. So purchasing the books is great. Reviewing the books is maybe even better because that's going to really spread out. Amazon, the magic number is 50 reviews. So if you're reviewing, make sure you share that on Amazon. Even if you copy and paste, that's what I do when I do reviews. I try to hit all three of the major. I hit Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, and Amazon, and I just copy and paste. And you can do that too. It's perfectly fine to do that. So get those reviews in. Share by word of mouth. If you know those new moms or those daycare workers or those preschool teachers, be sure to share these books with anybody that you think might really enjoy them. That word of mouth, sharing out on social media, that's another great way. So we hope that you will look for Delia's books and support her in all those ways. If you do happen to see her at one of those events, stop by and say hi and tell her you saw her on PBJamz. And we thank you for watching and for joining us on the journey. And Delia, thank you so much for being here for this episode of PBJamz and jamming with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone.
It's been super fun. And just a reminder, Delia's offering a critique. So we'll share that information down below. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube instead of on the blog channel, make sure you go over to my website and watch it there and leave a comment on the blog. And that's how you're going to get entered for that critique giveaway. So make sure you do that. And thanks for being here. And we will catch you guys next time on
PBJamz. Reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz. What a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time.